There's nothing worse, I imagine, than waking up in Downing Street this morning as Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of this great nation of ours, wondering what on earth we're going to do about the migrant protests and what on earth we're going to do about all of these migrant hotels, which it seems to me have now been ruled by a High Court judge to be effectively not hotels anymore, and they're going to have to kick everybody out of them.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a serious problem, and Keir Starmer doesn't appear to know what to do about the boats. I mean the problem, the fundamental problem is stopping the boats.
Yeah.
If he can't stop the boats, then he will have problems with asylum hotels.
Yeah.
So he's got to stop the boats, and he doesn't seem to be putting enough energy and creativity and urgency into that task. I mean, I've explained before how he is at least doing something, which is better than the Conservatives managed before him, which is to secure the deal with France.
Right.
But that's not going to produce results.
But it hasn't had any effect, has it? It hasn't changed.
But it's
anything.
not going to have any effect for a long time, even if it works.
Right.
And the question of whether it works is in the balance.
Well,
so he needs,
I mean, so far, let me give you the facts. I mean, since he announced the one-in, one-out deal, basically 2,500 people have crossed into Britain, and none of them have been sent away. And last week...
but the one-in, one-out deal wasn't supposed to produce instant results. It can't do, because the
he didn't say
have
that,
to be processed and have to go through the legal challenges, which is the whole point of the pilot scheme, is to establish that it is possible.
He said very clearly, John, and we played the video out, and I can find it for you again if we need to, that he said, if you arrive on these shores illegally, you will be detained and returned.
No, he didn't. We had this argument last week, Mike.
He did. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do this week.
I've been on holiday since.
All right, I'll tell you what we're going to do this week. This week we're going to play you what all of the various members of the kind of, the immigrant scenario are going to say. First up, we're going to play you Martin Hewitt, who's the Border Security Commander. Have a look at this.
My name is Martin Hewitt, and I am the Border Security Commander. Border Security Command has been developed to ensure that we can deliver collectively all the different elements of the system. So this is not a new organisation coming and having a particular responsibility. It's coming and sitting across all of the different ways that we seek to have a secure and effective border. We've also got the advantage that the government are very clear about how they want to reset the relationship with the European Union, and there's been a lot of really great interaction happening. I will be using my role as Border Security Commander to ensure that we are coordinating across the system. I'm determined to deliver, and I'm confident that how we're going about that will give us the best chance that we've got of success.
Right. Best chance of success at some point in the future. Nobody really knows what that means. I mean, what are all these people doing?
I don't know whether you edited him unfairly there, Mike.
No, not at all.
That did not inspire confidence.
No, it didn't. I'll tell you what, let's try Phil Douglas, who's the Director General of the Border Force.
These gangs aren't like narcos or the mafia. They're much more flexible. You arrest one bunch of them and immediately there are more people there. I think in the past perhaps we've lacked that focus, particularly when it comes to working with countries overseas. These crimes are being committed in France, in Netherlands, in Germany, and we'll need to rely on our international partners to identify, arrest and prosecute these individuals. And that's the focus that the Border Security Command also brings.
There's an awful lot of people getting involved in this stuff, but nothing seems to be happening. They're not doing anything.
Well, but also, smashing the gangs is dealing with the symptom, not the cause. The cause is that people want to come to Britain and are prepared to do almost anything to get here, and the gangs spring up obviously to meet that demand. And as that chap just said, if you disband one gang, another one will spring up in its place because the demand is still there. The only way to deal with this is to cut the demand, and that means making it not worth people's while trying to cross the channel, because won't be allowed to stay if they get here. Now, that, I mean, we understand that, and yet we seem to be unable to implement it.
Yes. I mean, that's the frustrating part about it, isn't it? Because we've got, many people now aware of the fact that there are hotels in this country which are housing, I think we're told, something like 30 to 35,000 people who have been here.
And it's gone up.
Who have been here for quite some time. The number has gone up since last year. It's 14% higher than the previous year of people claiming asylum. It's not as if, it's a bit like somebody sort of waking up and going, like the guy in Casablanca, I'm shocked to find gambling going on here, and it's a casino. You go, well, why are you shocked? You've been, it's been looking at it for ages.
They've had a year in government. They've had a year in government,
Yeah.
and before they're in government, they knew what the problem was, and yet they don't seem to have had a plan apart from negotiating a deal with the French, which I think is important and is a step forward, but it's not going to satisfy people because it's not going to produce results for at least a year.
Right.
And
But in the short term, though, let's talk about how the immediate position is going to affect Keir Starmer. I mean, I read out to you just this morning from the front page of the Times all of the places where there's going to be demonstrations going on up and down the country. Obviously, we don't want them to turn nasty. We don't want them to turn, into violent episodes. But any one of them might, because people are very, very wound up. But you're talking about, dozens and dozens of places around the country where people are demonstrating outside hotels where there are currently migrants being put up. And he's going to have to address it at some point, and he doesn't seem to want to. He doesn't, Keir Starmer would rather talk about Ukraine than talk about, Uttoxeter.
Well, he's good. He's going to have to. The government is going to have to find somewhere else to put these people if that injunction is upheld. I mean, part of the problem again is the slow working of the judicial system, because this was an injunction which won't actually, which won't, and the issue itself won't actually be decided until I think it's November. And in the meantime, they've got to.
They've got to get out, haven't they?
They've got to find They've got to find somewhere else to put these people,
right?
Which creates its own problems. I mean, Robert Jenrick, when he was immigration minister, was pleased with the fact that he'd found places in hotels, because it meant he wasn't using houses in multiple occupation. He wasn't using houses that would otherwise go to tenants.
Right. Well, he was in here just the other day, and I played him that clip, which has been put round by Reform to try and kind of embarrass him, saying that, we're very happy, we've actually commandeered more hotels and we've got more spaces and we're going to put more migrants in them. And he said, in fairness to him, he said, at that time, that was the solution to where we were. Well, it's no longer the solution because the dial has been moved and the dial has changed. I don't hold any candle for Robert Jenrick. I don't know whether that makes him a hypocrite or not. But certainly the idea of putting people in hotels sort of became a thing, didn't it, during COVID? Because it was the only place that they thought they could do it safely without giving alarm to the general populace. Now things have changed. It's actually going to be more dangerous to put them into houses of multiple occupancy in neighbourhoods where people don't want them.
Well, absolutely. I mean, in a way, hotels are obviously a terrible idea, but they may be the best of a bad series of choices. But I mean, all of this goes back to dealing with the cause of the problem, which is people coming over in small boats.
Right.
And if the government cannot tackle that, and it may be too late already, then it is in very deep trouble. I mean, Keir Starmer is already as unpopular now as Rishi Sunak was and the outgoing government last year before the election.
But how is it possible that when we look around the European Union, for example, and you see Greece, and Greece has managed to stop all incoming boats into Crete because they've said, right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start a detention centre. If you come here illegally, we're going to put you in a detention centre. You're not going to be allowed to stay here at all, and then we're going to deport you straight away. And they seem to have managed to do that without any problem with the ECHR, without any problem with the European Union, and they've managed to stop all of their illegal immigration problems overnight.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not totally familiar with the Greek.
Well, that's what they've done.
Greek situation. I mean, that is not compatible with the European Convention on Human
Yeah,
Rights.
no,
It's
but
not
they've done
compatible
it.
with the Refugee Convention.
No, but they have done it, and they've had success doing it, and nobody's complained. Nobody's brought any lawsuits. Nobody has appeared from the European Union or the ECHR and suddenly gone, you can't do that.
Yeah.
They've just done it.
Well, I mean, I'll have to look into that. I think that is being challenged, but I mean that is precisely the sort of thing that this government ought to be looking at. I mean,
they're going to have to, aren't they?
I mean, but it is extraordinary that the Conservatives weren't able to do it, and now Labour.
Yeah, but in a funny sort of way. But John, do you not think, in a funny sort of way, as useless as the Conservatives were, and I'm never going to be defending them for what they did during their time in office because they were useless. You know, it seems as though the public have sort of awoken. You know, we've suddenly found ourselves living on an island now where 50,000 people or 50,000 flags have now been flown around the country. People have suddenly discovered patriotism. They've gone, we're not having this anymore. We've been, you know, taken down this road for too long, and we've got too many migrants living here, and we've got too much immigration, and we want it to stop. And so now it's actually now even more pertinent that Labour have to sort this out than it was 3 years ago.
No, but I think that is a product of the uselessness of the Conservatives.
Possibly so.
I think we are, you know, I think things have got worse. I think people voted for lower immigration in the Brexit referendum in 2016.
They did.
They voted for lower immigration in 2019 when they elected Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson betrayed them very badly. They wanted to punish the Conservatives for that betrayal in 2024. They didn't have high hopes that Labour would do any better.
No, do you know he promised that he would bring net migration down to 20,000.
Who did?
Boris. He said in 2019, before the election, that we'll bring a net migration down to 20,000. I mean,
yeah. What did he do? It quadrupled.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's completely
$1 million
useless.
a year.
Exactly. You know, but this is the thing. People are so fed up with hearing promises made and promises broken. You know, Keir Starmer likes to say promises made, promises delivered. You know, he's delivered the square root of sweet FA. Apart from the fact that
that's why Labour has to get a grip on this, or else the Labour
but why then does he not in any way, shape or form ever tweet about it? In all the tweets that he puts out about how he's, you know, saving the world from Vladimir Putin and all the rest of it, he doesn't ever tweet about the migrant problem.
No, he does.
He says he's I'll tell you what he says.
I've seen tweets.
He says
he says about you can't expect
what he says is that he's stopping the boat. So what he says is he's clamping down. I can read you some of them if you want.
I've read them.
I'm determined to smash the business model used by people smugglers, and I'm taking joint action with our allies to make it happen. But except he's not. He's not doing anything like that.
He is, Mike.
And then he says, if you smuggle people into this country, you will face arrest, prosecution, and a jail sentence. Also incorrect, because he hasn't prosecuted more than about a handful of people over the time.
Well, you will face arrest. It's weasel words, isn't it? It's saying
crap,
there is a chance. There is a chance that you might be arrested.
It's rubbish.
It's not good enough. Absolutely.
Right.
Couldn't agree with you more.
But when is he going to acknowledge?
The lack of urgency.
But when is he also going to acknowledge the fact that people in this country are sick to death of hotels being used in their constituencies and in their neighbourhoods to house these people? He's never mentioned any of the protests around asylum hotels. He's never mentioned it.
Well, yes, but I mean, the question is, can he deal with the cause of the problem, which is the small boats? And until he does that,
I get that.
Nothing else matters.
Everything else matters, particularly the disquiet that is being felt up and down the country. Like I said, let me read you the list again. You know, these are going to be coming today. Cardiff, Chichester, Bournemouth,
you're rather hoping that trouble will
Orpington. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he can't ignore it. But he hasn't addressed it. Why does he not? Why does he not get on the bloody phone or get on, in front of a camera and do a tweet and ask people?
I don't want him to do a tweet or get in front of the camera. I want him to sort out the problem, Mike.
Well, what's he going to do about the protest, though?
Well, we'll worry about the. I mean, last weekend we were told there were going to be protests all over the country. There were some crowds too deep, outside a couple of hotels. But I mean, I know it's going to get worse. There's no question
they are
about
going to get worse, John, and he has to.
Just tweeting and going in front of the camera is not going to solve that.
No,
problem.
he needs to come out. No, he needs to. No, I'm sorry. He needs to come out and he needs to say to people who are unhappy about the fact that they've got migrants living in their neighbourhoods and in their constituencies. He needs to come out and address it. And he needs to say he's going to do something about it.
Well, yeah, but every time he says that, you say, "Oh, well, that's no good because that's just work."
No, because he
and you're quite right until he actually has some action.
No, because he hasn't come out and said it. If he came out and said something, and I was critical of it, you could be right in saying that. But he hasn't come out and said anything because he's never said anything about it. He's never mentioned it.
I'm not sure that's true. I mean, yeah.
Well, you tell me when he has ever said anything about migrant protests outside hotels. He hasn't.
Okay, all right. He hasn't. But no. I mean, I think the important thing is can he solve the problem? And so far, he doesn't seem to be able to.
Well, demonstrably, the answer is to that question, he hasn't been able to solve the problem. Because he doesn't. He seems to be. My point, I suppose, is what I'm trying to get at, is that it's almost as if he's hoping it will go away. Like a lot of the things that he does, he's hoping that he won't have to address it because he doesn't really want to. But
well, he must know that that's not going to work. I mean,
you would think so.
He must know that his government is in very serious trouble.
Yeah.
Little more than a year after it after it was elected.
Yeah.
And unless he can get a grip on this problem, then he's going to go down in history as a failed prime minister.
Well, so I think that's already happened, hasn't it?
Well, it may indeed it may already have happened, but there is a possibility, I suppose, that he could turn it around if he can stop the boats, and yet he doesn't seem to be trying hard enough to do that.